Okay, so now that we have introduced the topic of competitive politics and the purpose of competitive politics to gain control over policy, both foreign and domestic, we can talk about assembling the government and especially electing the president and electing Congress, because the purposes of a competitive assembly is different from the purpose of a Democratic assembly or even a Republican assembly. And it's all in that who makes the decisions and who makes policy. So what we've done is equated competitive politics with democracy, and it's just not even the same animal. What they're doing is defining democracy in a way that it justifies what they're doing with competitive politics in order to gain control over policy. And why is that such a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because in one, the states together as the union determine policy because of what they declared their independence for, which is the rights of a free and independent state with the full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do, which is an action, all other acts and things which an independent state may by right do. Well, when you look at it that way, what is the purpose of government? Well, it's collective decision making. It's a process for how the states make the collective decisions of their union. And that's all the decisions, foreign and domestic. Even though the domestic decisions maintain the union, foreign maintain the union. The foreign policy determines how we act as a union. And today, what they've done is they've usurped that power to act as the union from the states and have shifted it to our political factions, the Democrats and Republicans, who both are agents of the economic elite, so they can do what? So they can control policy to establish commerce. Okay? That's what it's all about. And to shift taxation. Because they want both sides of the pie. They don't want to pay taxes, and they want to spend the money in a way that benefits them. So when you look at it, when they spend almost $15 billion to elect the president and to elect the representatives and senators in Congress, what are they buying? They're buying that decision-making power because they've empowered those representatives and senators to make those decisions in their favor. That's why campaign contributions are quid pro quo, which is just a fancy word for bribery, because their expectation is that policy will be made in their favor, in their interest, by giving this campaign contribution. Now, I'm going to warn you before I start talking about this. It doesn't cost anything to assemble our government the way that it's established by the Constitution of the United States. $0. Zero. Why does it cost $15 billion to do it the way we do today? Because in order to maintain that control, gain and maintain that control, they have to pay for that. Okay? And who pays for it? Again, you pay for it through your campaign contributions and through your taxes, because they have matching for all the offices, even the primaries. So all the money that is spent to elect the president is paid by who? It's paid by you. Yes, the economic elite do spend a lot of money to elect the president and the Congress, but that's just a business expense that's on their ledger for pluses and minuses for their profit. They see it as a business expense. It doesn't cost them really anything, because those costs too are baked into the price that you pay for goods and services. You. So how many times do you pay? You pay at the to defer the cost of them running candidates. You pay through your campaign contributions, and you pay through higher costs for your goods and services. So you actually pay 3 times. Whether you want to pay or not, you may not support candidates on both sides, but you will pay to support candidates on both sides to do what? For them to elect candidates that will do what? Control the system for them, where they can make the decisions and they can make policy. That's different from assembling the government to make collective decisions, which policy is the product of legislation. So that legislative assembly determines policy. And today we have it rigged where the president determines what policies he wants, and then he has his affiliates through his party affiliations in Congress to make bills the way he wants them to be made, to make the policy that he wants made. And I say he, not in a matter where the president is determined to be a he or a she, which, considering this video is running long, I'm going to cut it pretty soon, is that the president doesn't have any legislative authority. All legislative power is vested in Congress, which is an assembly of the states in a bicameral legislature by their proportion of the population in the House and as equals in the Senate. Congress is an assembly of the states. It is not an assembly of parties. And all the seats in the distribution of, in the composition, the distribution of power through rights of suffrage, everything in Congress is specified unalterably by the Constitution of the United States. We don't have competitions for the composition and control of our governing institutions. And it's more than about time that we realize that. This is not a competition. Especially not one where we're paying for the service and then we're going to be, fans in the stands because we have no direct participation in the legislative assembly or in the decisions made by the president for what policies that we're going to have. Did I say that again? We have no participation in that. We hired them to make those decisions for us, even though we may not agree with any of those decisions. But we're not assembled in Congress to have the policies we want made and the alliances we want made and the commerce we want made. Okay? There's a difference. On one hand, you have the economic elite making policy, which favors them, versus when you assemble the people in the states, it favors all the people. It has a due responsibility to and a due dependency on the people, all the people, as equals. Your right is to participate as an equal in that decision-making process, in Congress. Not to choose who's going to make that decision. That's a huge difference. You have the right to participate through a representation. You should be in there as if you were there in person to make those decisions. That's why the representative density is so high. So that a true representation of the population is assembled in the most numerous legislative branch that looks like the same demographic diversity of the population itself that assembled that branch of the government. I'm going to stop there for part 2. Thank you.